What if the thing that made you weird as a kid was actually your superpower? James Victore says that
back then, weird, when it was spelled W-Y-R-D, was the power of conscious creation.
And he would know. His work is hung in the Museum of Modern Art. He's designed for Adobe, spoken at Google and Starbucks. And in his new book, Hey Weirdo, he's issuing a challenge.
That weirdness is going to come out, whether you want it to or not.
Why should I be more weird?
Why should you be more weird?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Why should you love yourself?
Is that the same thing?
Yeah. It's the exact same thing. Because why should you enjoy your creative parts? Why should you laugh at your own jokes? Why should you enjoy your own company? Because being more weird means that you're just more in touch with yourself. You're in more touch with the play and joy and love that you were born with, quite frankly.
You know what's weird? Before meeting you, and even after meeting you, I've just noticed it in myself, because you're the person in my world who says this word probably the most, is, talk about embracing your weird, being more weird. What made you weird as a kid makes you great today. I've always kind of associated that word with dysfunction or trauma or the negative part of you.
I know. Most of us do. And that's the purpose of the book. It's the same thing with the C word or the N word or the R word, right? I want to take the piss out of it. I want us to kind of own it a little bit more. And one of the things I touch on in the book is the history of the word, the etymology of the word, and it is an ancient word. It goes back to Beowulf. It goes back to before Shakespeare. It goes back to the Norms and the Druids. And back then, weird, when it was spelled W-Y-R-D, was the power of conscious creation, meaning we are capable of creating our own fate. And if you're not consciously, if you're not consciously creating your own fate, creating your own destiny, creating your own life, then you're unconsciously creating it, or somebody else is creating your life for you.
Yeah. I had written down here, and you're going to laugh at me, but I'm just going to be honest with you. The thing that made me weird as a kid, I'm always looking right here because I have that plastered on my wall here. The thing that made me weird as a kid made me, I feel like, undesirable towards people. Mm-hmm. It separated me out from people. It's the thing that honestly I have felt the most like shame about. We're just gonna go effing deep here.
Oh, yeah.
It's like really
I hear
deep.
You, darling. No, you have to go effing deep. You have to.
I wrote here, what if your weird's not cool? Because when I hear James is weird, I'm like, well, James was weird. Like, he was a doodler and he did cool little designs and he's rebellious and doesn't give a shit what people think. Like, that's cool. But my weird was awkwardness. And I got beat up all the time because kids thought I was just a nerd. And I couldn't look people in the eye. I was just like socially not desirable. So it's weird you telling me I need to be more of that.
Yeah. Because you need to face the parts of yourself that you fear. Because I got in trouble for my weirdness. I got in trouble for drawing on everything. I got in trouble for my wordplay and my jokes and my ability to just make voices and sing song. I was told I was too loud or too messy or too boisterous or too stupid or too dumb. We all have that experience. That's why even just the title, Hey Weirdo, I think speaks to people, because they're like, oh, fuck yeah. Whether they're like, yeah, I was weird, I still am. Or they were like, oh, fuck yeah, I was a weird kid, right? One of the stories, one of the other voices in the book, her name is Susie Batiz, and she started the company. She's the founder of Poopery, which is a very large company now. She's very well off now, but she started off as a poor kid. And recently I had her in a conversation, and she was talking about going to art school. And she really wanted to, because both of her parents were artists. So she really wanted to go to this school. So she went there. And in the first class, they said, bring in something for a still life drawing. So we're going to draw things. And everybody came with, fruit and bananas and stuff. And she came with a chunk of wallpaper, floral wallpaper. And the teacher was like, what the hell is that? What? She never went back to the class. She was so shut down that she brought in something weird. And when she was done talking, I said, hey, Susie, have you ever noticed the packaging on Poopery? It is floral wallpaper.
Damn.
That weirdness is going to come out, whether you want it to or not. That weirdness in you, whether it's like, I was really weird, I was always asking questions and I got in trouble for it. No, lean into that. That's a superpower. I'm hearing, there's a section that we're trying to develop and evolve where I get readers to write in and tell me, or to, tell the world, share what made them weird as a kid. And the process is to hopefully help them develop that and realize that. And realize that yes, it made me being weird made me a target. That's what I hate that fucking word. And I don't want to be on stage for the next year going, here's our resident weirdo, James Victore, right? And I'm like, oh fuck, I don't want to be King Weirdo. We recoil from that.
What does it look like tactically leaning into it, though? And I know that's what this book, it's helping you uncover it, and also to learning how to lean into it, because there's like this thing, and I'll just keep using this as an example. Like, if I was painfully shy and awkward around people, how do you turn that into an actually a gift, or your voice, or whatever? Because again, inherently it feels like a negative thing. Yeah. And you're saying it's actually your gift.
Yeah. And it's all perspective. Yeah. Everything is perspective, right? It's how you choose to see that thing, whether you choose to see it as a gift or a superpower. And something like shyness, if you can understand where it comes from and what its purpose is, right? Where it comes from. Like, I was horribly shy as a kid, but I realized there's no gene, there's no genetic calling for being shy. I was told I was shy when I was a kid. Oh, this is Jimmy. This is my shy one. And of course, because I was told I was, told by authority that I was shy, I became shy. And it's taken me a lifetime, and I still work on it. People are like, I come off stage and people are like, how can you be so confident? I'm like, I'm not. I'm not even comfortable talking to you right now, but I'm not confident. Yeah. It is a muscle that I train. Yeah. And I found that it serves me well. Right. But I think understanding where these things come from, and what that in your early life, they were a great tool for you. It was the way, that you faced your fears. It was the way that you met people. It was the way that you interacted with others. It was the way that you created, right?
Yeah. I had this really odd thought this morning, and I don't know if I even believe it. It just kind of popped in my head, and I haven't gotten it out since, and I'm curious what you think about it. As we grow up, we try to get healthier, right? Mentally, spiritually, emotionally, whatever, because that's what good grown-ups do, is they get better. They go to therapy, they try to eat their vegetables, they whatever. I I don't know if you know this. I used to be a mental health therapist. And so the whole thing was about, how do we get past all of our trauma and get to kind of a more of an equal state. When I've dug into more creativity and talked to artists and took acting classes and so forth and tried to really find my voice and figure it out, so much of my voice is hidden in the dark, is hidden in the pain, is hidden in all these places.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this really weird thought this morning of like, I wonder if trying to get super healed actually takes away from who I really am.
No, I think it redirects it.
Okay.
I think it redirects it because I know a lot of people. I work with a lot of, I'm a coach and a teacher, and I deal with a lot of people. And I've got, like, for example, I've got one extremely talented dude who, it's like now like a protege of mine, who came to me and was overweight, and he was very much kind of goth and dark. But all of his thoughts and all of his, the way his weirdness, the way he worked with his weirdness, it made him smaller. It made him unhealthy. It was him recoiling from it instead of putting it into his life and putting it into his work and realizing that he was a lot stronger than he thought he was. He used it as a shield. His
Yeah.
his black t-shirts with, crazy aggressive imagery, his tattoos. He was like kind of steeping in the dark side. But he's like, how do I get, how do I move forward? How do I get healthy? I'm like, brother, you're sitting in your own pee here. Let's talk about this. Like,
Yeah.
how do you take that? How do you love that? How do you love that? How do you love that and start putting it into your work? And he started putting it into his work, and oh my God, now he's like going to what are they called? It's not a Comic Con thing, but for programmers, he's like going on stages, and he's created a board game, and he's like, and they're dark and they're fun and they're cool, but he's not suffering from that anymore. And he's going to a gym, and he's getting like, doing bodybuilding stuff. It's awesome to see when you can take that power and turn it on its head and make it, use it properly. I like you said, I drew constantly. I drew on everything, and I got in trouble for it. Um, and it's funny because I am who I am, both because of and in spite of my parents. I was
Yeah.
brought up in a very
Yeah.
strict military, house. Um, and when I had my first show at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, so I've had two exhibitions there. The first time around, I brought my parents to New York, and we went to took them to the exhibition. Five pieces of mine up on the wall in the museum on the third floor. And then I took my parents to dinner after, and I asked my mom about the show, what she thought, and I shouldn't have. I said,
Oh,
"Mom,
no.
so what did you think about the show?" And she says, "Don't you do anything nice?" And I realized if I had stayed in that situation where I was doing work to satisfy my mom, to make my parents happy,
Wow.
I would
Wow.
not be James Victore.
Right. Right.
I would be some guy who has a job maybe as a mechanic, which, I love fixing and breaking things, so that would be cool, but I would be creatively unfulfilled. I would be emotionally constipated. I would be a horrible person to be around, probably, because I would be unsatisfied. Because I would know it's a Henry David Thoreau from
Mm-hmm.
Walden says
Mm-hmm.
most men lead lives of quiet desperation, and the reason we lead lives of quiet desperation is because we know what we're capable of,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's in there inside of us all the time, calling, going, hey, remember me? We used to be fun.
Yeah.
We used to be tight.
Yeah. I think what I'm trying to poke into and figure out, because when you talk at this whole book, when you're talking about your weirdness, the thing that sets you apart, there is a level of it can bring a level of pain and trauma and so forth, because that part of us has been wounded and hurt. And really it's been because, like you said, people want to hide it, people want to cover it up, and people want you to fall in line. And so it's interesting to think about how that being beat into submission can come in the form of healing, of like, oh, well, we're going to get you. You know, I've had people tell me on this show before, you know, that being overly ambitious is a sign of trauma, or if you want
Sure.
more for your life, then you have something you need healed. And I hear part of that, but then part of me feels like, oh, you're just trying to beat me into submission to where I'm not going after some weird stuff that I really want to do.
Mm.
You know, and maybe I like that about me. Maybe it does come from my dad not hugging me enough. Maybe it comes from that, but also too, there's a gift in it. And
Yeah.
so it's trying to figure out, like, to your point, your example, the dude, like, it's not that his weirdness and the thing that drove him or whatever was inherently wrong. It's how we're using it. And that's what I'm trying to figure out, is like, how do you steer that kind of dark separator from you? Like
Mhm.
you with your kind of like attitude, like F the man, screw the man. You know what I mean? Like that could be taken like, oh, James needs that part healed, but actually that's your gift.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why there's the chapter, and it's a recurring theme, I think, but there's specifically a short chapter about self-love,
Yeah. Yeah.
about, and because self-love is the key, as I say in the book, the self-love is the key that turns your weird on. You can't access your weird unless you're like, I loved that one about me when I was a kid. I love that about me when I was a kid. I want to do that again. But that means, okay, now I have to ignore the fear,
Mm,
not listen to the critics or the
mm,
naysayers. I was walking my dog last week, and I bumped into some neighbors I hadn't chatted with, and they said, "Oh, you live in that house. Oh, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm an artist and a writer." And they immediately, three of them, just immediately kind of lit up, and they were like, "Oh, when I was a kid."
mm.
Immediately, I didn't fucking say anything. When I was a kid, because that's the only time we're creative.
It's when we're kids,
When
right?
I was a kid, I used to, take paper, and I would draw patterns, and I would sew them together, and I'd make dresses for, and I'm like, oh, that's fucking awesome. I said, what do you do now? And the woman says, oh, I work in a parking garage. And I tried to really hard to control my cringe,
Mm,
my want
mm,
to say, oh, go
mm,
back to that other thing. Do
mm.
you still do that? Can I help you? Like, can you do that on the weekends? Are you playing? Are you allowing that, the joy that you got from that work, the joy that I saw in your eyes right there, to come
Yeah.
out? Do you love yourself that much that you will take that chance to re-become that child?
The criticism I've gotten the most, the more honest I am, come from the people closest to me.
Yeah.
It's not normally Johnny 362, you know, it's people who come over for holidays and
Yeah.
so forth. And you just mentioned, you know, your mother and the show and those words. And I think being seen in your weirdness and how painful, man, it is that the people who are supposed to love you and have your back are the ones who are pushing you back inside of that box. And I hear you about self love and so forth. How do we get past that pain, though, man? Of, I'm not going to say names, but you know,
Yeah. It's okay. I know these people. I know
you
them
know them,
well. I know them well. Um,
right?
they love you, and they love the kid that they knew.
Yeah,
And you're introducing somebody new to them.
yeah,
They're like, wait, no, no, you're gonna change, right? And
mm,
they're afraid. They're afraid. They're afraid you're going to change. They're afraid you're going to be somebody else. They're afraid the influence that they had on you is going to be gone. There's so many facets to this kind of like, who are you? Who are you? Right? We
yeah,
knew this. We knew this Heather, and we like her. We don't want to change. So they don't want to let go of that. The other half of it is both for them and for Johnny 365, which is I think the average person, the normal person, is so out of touch with their own parts, their
Yeah.
own creativity, their own
Yeah.
sensuality,
Yeah.
sexuality, their own sense of humor, their own capabilities, that when they see it in other people, it scares the shit out of them.
Yeah.
It's like if you it's like it's the 1970s and you see Freddie Mercury walking down the street and you're like, what the fuck is that guy, right? And then
Yeah.
you go spend $100 to watch him on fucking stage and you go, man,
Yeah.
right? We're so
Yeah.
afraid of our own emotions, our own creativity, that when we see it in others, we're threatened, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can see homophobia in that, through that lens. We're so afraid of what we're capable and what our
Yep.
sexual urges are, and how far we've shoved that down deep, that when we
Damn.
see it freely in others, it scares the shit out of us.
Isn't that wild?
It's crazy, and we want to stop that. I want to stop that. I want to make laws against that.
You said something that um I was like, oh damn. Oh damn. And I don't think you even hinted towards it in Feck Perfection. So I wanted to go down this little rabbit hole with you real quick. It says, and this was like I think in the intro or chapter one or something, but I'm proposing in this book that you're way more witchy than you believe yourself to be. You have been sold a bag of crap by thinking you were somehow born broken, or that the only way back to wholeness is through salvation by anyone or any deity outside of you. And I was like, this is
Ah,
a Southern man saying some crazy shit. Like,
this
what are you
is.
talking
I
about?
know.
And all of this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, I think talking about the thing that made you weird as a kid makes you great today sounds at first, surface level, cute and interesting and a fun thought. But then when you really dig in deep to it, there's so much inner work. Like we've mentioned, a lot of stuff that needs healed and spirituality put into it too. And I've
Yeah,
never talked to you a little bit about that side of stuff, the spiritual, energetic implications of this. But
yeah.
if you can break down what you mean about us being whole, we're not actually broken, because that's what was taught to me my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, it's the heretic in me. I was raised Catholic, so it's the heretic in me. Um, this whole idea of being, well, like I said, family. Family is always the first level of resistance. You say, hey, guys, guess what? I'm going to quit my job because there's something that I've fallen in love with. I'm an artist and I need to go back there, and and they're like, wait, you're gonna quit your job in this economy? What are you, stupid? Like, what about your family? All these fears. Like, I remember my dad telling me, like, I wanted to quit my job at McDonald's. I was like freaking 17, 16. And he's like, well, how are you gonna feed your family? I'm like, what? What? I'm
Uh,
like a single dude. Like, he's trying to put that kind of future
Hot.
fear into me, right? And I think these are just tools of control, right? But they're tools of control that we really don't need. We're not bad people. We were never born bad. We were born beautiful, full, brimming with energy and potential. We're not broken. we I think in the workbook, I think it says we were born with brimming with potential and energy, and but for the first 5 minutes.
Mm,
Then we're
mm,
given, caretakers and school and society and rules and, traditions and, all these things that kind of want you to kind of, there you go. And listen, Heather, I taught creativity at the School of Visual Arts for almost 18 years. I didn't like creative people in my classroom. Do you know why?
no, why?
Because they disrupt. They talk out of
Yeah.
turn. They show up late because it's like I understand it as a teacher now, and as a parent now. You want a level of conformity, and sometimes weird or people just don't fit into that. And, they need to take some level of personal responsibility so they can control it and so they can stay in their own little group of society. But otherwise, the norms, that's a threat. And they want to control it.
Why are we threatened by that? Philosophical thought. What is it? Why?
Again, it's different. It's outside of our own knowledge, outside of our own experience. I mean, classically, weird is anything odd or disturbing,
Yeah.
or again, outside of the normal.
What should we use as our measure to understand if we're kind of tapping into our weirdness effectively or not? Because usually my measure of like if something's working or not is people's response.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then people probably aren't going to respond real well at first, at least when you start tapping into your weird. I know they sure haven't for me. Like it's been
yeah.
like negative. So is it your feeling, your self satisfaction? But if that's the case too, sometimes I feel really bad after I'm vulnerable and weird because I know that I've excluded myself from the pack.
Ah, um, I think you're right and you're wrong. I think you've excluded yourself from a certain pact that you're really paying attention
Damn, that's
to.
so true.
Right? That's the
You're
one you're
right.
paying attention to. But you're also opening yourself up to to your audience. And for I'm traditionally a graphic designer, commercial designer. So for me, I have to help creatives and designers understand that you've been trained to appeal to a broad faceless
Right.
audience. You want as many.
Right.
You're like
Right.
you want to be like Coca-Cola. As many clients as possible. That's not a reality. Because your creativity, you can't be for everyone. But once you buckle down and learn how to try to be for your audience, create for your audience. And here's the funny thing. People come to me and they're like, "Hey, I want to get paid to do this thing. How do I do that? Can you?" I'm like, "Did you know people get paid and paid well to draw doodles, to
Yeah.
tell jokes,
Yep.
to, you name it. What level of success you want in there, that's up to you. That's where, becoming a business and marketing and figuring that shit out. But people get paid extremely well to do those things. Right? I think he's the sixth highest paid living artist. His name is Mr. Doodle. There's
You
a guy
love
in
that guy.
Europe. There's a guy in Europe who's like got the world's record for loudest fart, and he travels around with that shit now, and he's got merch. Like he's figuring
Oh
it out. You
God.
can get you can get paid to do anything, and you can build an audience
Yeah.
for anything. Focus. That's what that. And if you're focusing on that, then the naysayers are the naysayers aren't going to come after you. They don't hate you. They're just afraid of you, and they'll probably come around. Like if you watch any biopic about a band, in the beginning they're always hated, but everybody always comes around.
Yeah.
Or biopic about an athlete, the Jackie Robinson story. Everybody eventually comes around.
You tell several stories from several people about how, or they tell it through their lens about how they tapped into their own weird. And that last story you tell is your own. Um, which, by the way, I love that you had Brad Montague on there. That's so cool.
Yeah,
I
Brad's a
love
good
that
guy.
dude.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
Your story, which I won't tell it for you, but I just wanted to hone in on this one piece where, you're doing more of the commercial good boy work and doing good work, making good money or whatever, but it just wasn't fulfilling your soul. And you're like, F it, I'm going to go try my own thing, do my own work, and made a huge transition to trust you and that you could sell you. And you did. I'm curious though, post that, as you've been evolving as an artist and a human and a man and a leader and a speaker and so forth, what has been some of the weirdness that you've had to bring forth in yourself, even after that big career shift, maybe the past few years or something that maybe you subdued, didn't know about? What's something recently on the more recent end of stuff that was really weird that you've had to freaking lean into?
yeah. Well, that's funny, Heather, and it's a great question because it makes me it forces me to double down on something I'm in the process of doing right now. So yeah, I started out as a graphic designer, and I was making good money because I was doing what I thought people wanted.
Right.
Here I was, I removed myself from my small town, the small military based town, and went to New York City, and I was creative, but I wasn't that. It wasn't fulfilling. Um, and then now, as an adult, I've actually removed myself from that business almost completely, except for a few clients that I have a good relationship with, who I know want what I've got. Right? They allow me to do this. But I'm going to the next step right now, and it's been, oh my God, fucking Heather. Like I said, that thing will gnaw at you. That it will gnaw at you, and it's been gnawing at me and been pissing me off. And I've been the last 5 years scrambling in life, trying to figure like what the fuck, what am I doing? Let me try this, let me try this, let me try this, let me try this, and I realized, why don't you just fucking shut up and be an artist? Oh, never tried that one. Shit.
Wow. Wow.
Why don't you just
Wow.
shut up and try to be an artist? And that's what I'm doing right now. I just got done a 2-week workshop with an individual who came to my studio to up her game. So I'm like giving her tools, and I've seen what she's capable of, and she brought a mood board of like this future that she wants to be, and I helped usher her through that by sitting next to her and drawing and making and putting it together and showing her herself, which was scary for her. She would make these marks and she's like, that's so ugly. And I'm like, hang on. And I put it together and I scan it in and I print it huge on the wall. And she's like, almost in tears, like, oh, fuck, that's nice. I'm like, yeah, you could sell that. And now I'm looking at it going, so, hey, why don't you do that for yourself? So that's what I'm in the process of. Trying to release that new level of, that next step down to that real weird core that wants to just draw on everything and
I
make it
literally,
available
when
to
you
her.
said that, got chills all over. Like, I was like, yeah, James.
Yeah,
Like,
duh.
that's so, but it's the thing that's right in front of our freaking faces. I just had, lunch the other day with an artist, and she's literally just in tears. She's just like, can I just be an artist?
Yeah.
She's in her 40s, yada yada yada. Can I just be that? And I think, yeah, you talk a lot about, what it is. It's right there in your face. You just got to get out of your own way, do your healing, and it's right there. And you're right, because it will gnaw at you. But sometimes I think, I'm like, it seems so lofty. It seems so out of reach to actually just be what I really want to be, because only the special, only the talented, only the
Yeah.
people with the connections. And we know all this is BS.
Yeah.
But you saying, can I just, I'm just going to be an artist. I literally wanted to cry when you said that. I'm like, oh yeah, you can. Like, I don't want that for me, and I want that for everybody listening. We just stuck
Exactly.
so much in our damn way.
Exactly. I mean, historically, I love, going to live music shows or watching somebody on stage, and I've been in a situation watching somebody on stage and literally in tears. Everybody else is like, yeah, and I'm crying
I know, yeah.
because I see myself. I see the
Yeah.
power that I can have, and I'm like, I want that so bad. I want to entertain and enlighten and educate and illuminate for other people, So here's a great tool. And my kids taught me this because they are at a point in their lives where they're still weird, and my job is to not shut that down,
Yeah.
right? And they repeat again and again and again and again and again and again and again the innate primal call of creativity, that primal innate urge or drive. And I hear it again and again, and it's annoying. And I know why parents shut it down, because I'll be doing the dishes, or laundry or whatever, cleaning toilets or doing or working, and they do this. And I've got two of them. One's, Wyatt just turned 10, and Nova is going to be 8 in July. I hear it all the time, and it goes like this: "Hey, Daddy, look at me. Look what I can do, or
Yeah.
look what I did." Adults can't do that.
Right.
It's so hard for us.
Right.
And we have to call it marketing or advertising or it's that primal call. It's like, there's the self-love. I love this so much. And it can be, Nova could have put like a banana and a mango and go, look, I made a clown or I made a smile or something. It's just like, it could be as simple as that. But she's proud of it. She enjoys that part of her. She made herself laugh and she wants to share that. I couldn't do that when I was a kid. I had to keep it. Nobody wanted to see what I was doing. Right? But it's the same thing. We're born with that drive. We're born with play and joy and love. But what adult still has that? What adult has the capability to play? What friend of mine has any kind of sense of joy in their lives? That's a tough one. And who of us can freely give and receive love? And that's a practice I do in the freaking grocery store. I go in and I'm like, okay, James, you got to be aware and open here to just compliments, on their sneakers. Just be open to complimenting somebody. And when they say, and then again, and or if they give you something back, being able to say thank you. That's hard for me. So those things that we had the things that made us weird when we were a kid are great. They're so powerful. They're such great tools. And we leave them aside to become adults, to become, more concerned about the money and security and comfort.
Yeah. I think it was care and feeding, if I'm not mistaken, in that chapter. You talked about like spring cleaning for your soul, which I really loved. And one of the points on there is talking about listening to your voice and not everybody else's voice, and learning to trust that voice. As your inner voice becomes clearer and clearer, the power of your weirdness reveals itself. Sometimes it's hard figuring out what's your real voice versus a voice that was planted inside of you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do I know what's that still small voice versus Aunt Martha's fear coming through me?
Yeah. It's so funny because so much of and I've been conscious of this thought since beginning this book. I've been conscious of this thought that the majority of our thoughts, our decisions, and our actions are based on other people. Mm-hmm. They're based either those unconscious voices that have been, those pre-programmed, implanted in us, or the fear of what are they going to say? Who's going to buy this? Does anybody want this? Am I any good? Right?
Yeah.
Am I any good? That's basically looking for other people's standards. Right? So a lot of that has to do with learning how to trust your gut. What does it feel like in you? It's like, is this something I should be doing right now? Why am I so stressed out right now? Oh, I get it. I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Do you do that? Do you stop and just ask your gut often? Is that just a practice you have, or what?
It is. Partially because I'm a divorced dad, so I have got my kids every other week. So I'm single, so I spend a lot of time alone, and I have been alone for a long time. So it's like I constantly have trying to get a fairly healthy inner dialogue instead of just walk around going, "You're such an idiot," like that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. What do you do to keep your kind of soul, spirit, pure, connected, and all that? Because again, Heather, getting woo and weird on you. I feel like the thing that separates us, you'll agree with this, the thing that separates us from other people is our own self-expression. And the thing that's being stuffed and suffocated out of us at all times is our own knowing. And that small thing, just whether it's through, numbing us out with too much stimulus or whatever it is, it's like, I agree with you, but also too, the thing that's getting ripped from us day to day is that quietness and that stillness.
Yeah.
And it seems so dumb. I'm like, Heather, is everything really just need to go step in the grass and breathe a little bit? Is that literally the answer to everything? Like you're freaking growing up and getting older and older, and like your answers to life are getting so much more dumb. You know what I mean?
Well, your answers are going back to being a kid.
Yeah, I
Going
guess
outside
so.
and playing. Yeah, that's great. Getting fresh air. For me, I use a number of tools. One, I stopped drinking over 2 years ago.
Tell me about that. I want to hear
You
why.
know, I'm the worst advocate for sobriety because I fucking hate it.
Still, 2 years later.
Oh, yeah. I like being a little high. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand its role in my creativity. I also understand that I didn't need it to be
Yeah.
creative. But it was as advertised. It was a numbing tool. It was
Right.
something that where I didn't have to listen, where I could just lose myself. Just a bad habit, a bad lifelong habit. Um, um, so that I'm not going to say it's helped, but it's a part of it. It's a part of it. So now the only voice that I have to listen to is the sober voice, not the kind of like I know all the habits I had when I was a drinker, and there were some bad ones.
Yeah.
Um, um,
Can I just say I'm really grateful that you are the one person I've ever talked to who's sober who says this sucks. Like, thank you for saying that.
it's hard.
Because every person I talk to is like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. And I'm like, I don't, you, come on, somebody tell me the truth.
If somebody had said to me 3 years ago, they said, James, you're an alcoholic, I would have gone, you're a jerk. Fuck
Yeah.
you. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Look, I got a business. I've got happy kids. I've got, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm working. But when I stopped drinking, immediately I found out, oh, that's what alcoholism is like. The pull, the pull, constant. Like Heather, I still go to the grocery store and I'll see a little short bottle of sake and I'm like, go, and I'll get all the way to the register and then I'll put it by the register and I'll go, I'm sorry, I don't need this.
Damn.
It's strong. It's strong. And the other tool I use is basically my version of going out in the grass, but I go to the gym because
Oh,
because because through exercise we move all that oxygen and all the blood through, and we refresh our brain and we refresh
yeah.
our body, and that's what we need. The opposite of and I feel this because it's in my family. And I used to self medicate for it, but I don't take anything for it. But there's a strong streak of depression in my family.
Yeah.
But the opposite of depression is expression,
Yeah.
is to express it through exercise, express it through emotion, express it through art and creativity. There's a whole voice in my book from Seema Reza, who helps returning war veterans deal with their PTSD and deal with their addictions
Yeah.
through art, through writing and poetry and theater. Because they come home and they go to Thanksgiving dinner and they can't talk.
Mm.
What are they going to do? What fucking stories are they going to share?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What do they have to? They can't tell what they've been doing over there, so they can't express. So she gives them a vehicle, and that's art, and that's
Damn.
poetry, and art can save you. I mean, the top of the book says this book will save your life, and I believe that.
So we are nearing the end of the conversation. We've talked a lot about kind of the why to tap into your weirdness and that side of yourself, the untapped potential, the unseen, unexpressed you. It's not that some people are weird, some people aren't. We all are. Some people choose to show it and some people don't. Obviously, linked up in the show notes will be your book, which is a fun read. It's interesting. I always love your books because they're like, for somebody who's a little ADD, there's such cool visual breaks in the way that you communicate, even on written word.
Thank
It's
you.
it's fun and light, even though it's heavy AF. But buy the book. That's step number one. Can you give me one or two other things that you would just help kind of push people into expressing that weird side, even if they've stuffed it down for 50 years.
Well, it's funny you say the why, and I realize that the book is the why, and that's why as soon as I, when I wrote the book and sent out early copies, people started asking, well, how do I do this? I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to do the how, which is
Yeah.
the workbook follow up, which is coming out. It's done ish, so it is that part. But you'd mentioned the um, being removed from it for 40 or 50 years.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm having that conversation a lot with people and asking them, what made you weird as a kid? And some people it's right there. Some people are just right there. And then other people, it takes them some time to realize, until I say, okay, here, I know what made you weird. I know what made you weird. I don't have the particulars, but what made you weird is your play and your
Mm.
fun and your joy. What did you like doing? What was it? And for me, there's a laundry list, and I do those things. I still do those things. I don't do I always loved things with rubber tires, motorcycles, bicycles. I don't do that as much anymore, and I miss that. I still have dreams of riding, and I literally dreams in my sleep. And I will get back to that. Um, but I think it's just like everybody has it, and tapping into it is important. Even if it just brings the joy of making, or the joy of um, using your hands and being
Yeah.
creative, or the joy of sharing.
Yeah.
Sharing again. Hey, look what I did.
Yeah. One of my favorite, I think it was, I can't remember her last name. It was Line, the lady who
Oh yeah,
drew
Lena Jensen.
simple.
Yeah, Lena
Yeah, yeah,
Jensen.
yeah. I could relate so much to her side of stuff where she would judge her work and say like, "Hey, this is so simple. Nobody's really going to relate to this. This isn't really good." And the rawness of the emotion behind what she was trying to convey in her work
Mm-hmm.
hit people's souls. And that judgment of our work, man. You talked about earlier, like your kids will be like, "Hey, look at this, Dad. This is awesome. I love it." I genuinely don't think as adults sometimes we hold up our work and genuinely love it.
Yeah, yeah. Self love again. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and Lena is an excellent story because I knew her when she was a student. I knew her when she was. There's a longer story to tell, and
Yeah.
I will figure out what form to tell that story. But um, uh, she was a student, and she came back to me later when she had kind of made it, and that's when I found the weird story in her. But what's hilarious is all these interviews were conducted, long format over the phone and me recording it. And with her, I start, okay, Lena, tell me, what made you weird as a kid? And she starts by saying, oh, I wasn't weird as a kid. I was just perfectly normal. But halfway through the conversation, and you can see it in the book, halfway through the conversation, she goes, oh my God,
Yeah.
I was boring. That's what made me weird as a kid. And she turned it into a fucking superpower.
Isn't
Isn't
that
that
cool?
crazy? I was
So
boring. I
cool.
like to doodle, and her doodles never got better, and they don't have to. You don't have to draw like Michelangelo to be an artist.
Yeah. What I love about your work, we'll wrap it up here, is you're just promoting freedom at the end of the day, of just like full body breath, who I am, open hands, just a free way of living. And we're searching for so many things in this world, and it's wild how difficult it can be just to stop and be just who we freaking are and be seen, be fully seen. Like, you see me and I'm okay with who I am, and it's okay what you think,
Yeah.
and what a free state to be, and what I'm striving after. And that's why I love your work. I love every time we get to talk. This book's phenomenal. I hope everybody goes and picks it up. It's linked up in the show notes. Before our last question, is there anything else you want to direct our listeners to?
No, no. I believe in this book, and I have to get more comfortable talking about it, and comfortable in me being weird. So, Heather, I love talking to you. I was looking forward to this.
Awesome. Very last question. What is something in your life currently that you are questioning that you don't have an answer to. And it can be related to what we talked about, or it could be something really strange, like who's going to be the new pope and how's that election process work out? It could be anything. But what's been on your mind lately that you just walk around and you're like, I don't know.
It's funny. I was having a phone conversation last night with a new friend, and I don't know why I was so uncomfortable. I've my entire life, part of my weirdness is, and I know where it comes from, and I'm trying to get over that. Um, I think people have sometimes seen me as, I don't know, seen me as something. I just want to talk to people. I just want to be around. I just want to be, love you and talk about fun things. But it's hard for me. I'm not comfortable in my own skin, which is weird.
That's so hard to believe because I would just peg you as somebody who's super comfortable in their skin.
Yeah, I like to be, and it takes, I have to kick in that confidence, but it does,
Yeah.
like at a party, it does wear me out,
Oh,
holding that up, right?
so I'm the same way. People are like, oh, you're so extroverted, you're so whatever. And I'm like, you don't know me. Like, I understand how to communicate. But I want to be left the hell alone.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like the pumpkin's gonna turn into the carriage is gonna turn into a pumpkin, and
Maybe that's our weirdness.
Cinderella's got to go home.
I hear you. James, thank you for your time today. This is awesome.
Thank you, Heather.